Hey boys and girls, it's me, Miss Guzman, and I'm back today to talk to you about presentation skills. On today's video, we're going to talk about that introduction to your presentation that we often call a hook. A hook is something that you use in order to engage people in your presentation and bring them in. So you've worked all this time on the presentation, but you want to make sure that the people are interested in it and they're kind of following along with you. All right? So first you're going to introduce yourself before your presentation. Thank the audience for coming. So I'm going to give you a real quick introduction practice and then we're going to go straight into hooks. All right? Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for our presentations this evening. My name is Mrs. Guzman, and tonight I'm going to do presentations about different kinds of hooks. The first hook I'm going to talk about is the anecdote. An anecdote is a way to give a personal story in order to have the audience connect to you as a person, okay? The anecdote I'm going to talk about tonight is actually about my child. When my son Zachary was young, he had an imaginary friend. His imaginary friend name was Johnny. Johnny went everywhere that Zachary went. Johnny got into a lot of trouble, and I think oftentimes Johnny was an excuse for Zachary to get into trouble. Johnny would tell Zachary stories. He would tell Zachary where the best places to play were. Johnny was Zachary's all-time friend. I never had an imaginary friend as a kid, so I never understood having an imaginary friend. So I did my research this year on imaginary friends because I wanted to find more about the psychology of imaginary friends, how many children go through getting an imaginary friend, and if an imaginary friend is something that's hurtful or helpful for a child. Okay, that's hook number one. Hook number one was an anecdote, a personal story. Hook number two is going to be a question. I'm going to ask the audience a question to get them engaged in what I'm talking about. How many of you guys have been to Six Flags Fiesta, Texas? Raise your hands. Yeah, me too. Do you love the rides at Six Flags, just how fast they are and up and down, but hate the lines you have to stand in? Yeah, me too. Six Flags Fiesta, Texas is extremely interesting and fun, but that's actually not what I did my project about. I did my project about the actual Six Flags that flew over Texas. People don't realize that there were Six Flags that flew over the state of Texas because of all the different entities that had control of Texas in one time or another. People just think it's a theme park. And let me tell you, it was really hard to find research about the Six Flags over Texas because there's so much about the theme park. All right, so that was hook number two. Hook number two was asking the audience a question and drawing them in. Hook number three, we're going to go with a fact. Stephen Hawking is one of the most influential scientists of the modern time. Unfortunately, Stephen Hawking passed away recently, but we have learned some interesting information from Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking let us know that if we as a species, as humanity, don't leave the planet Earth within 100 years, it is very likely that our species will be gone forever. Forever. We'll never be around again. So we must look to the future and look to ways to find a way to leave our planet and to get to those other planets out there in space that might be habitable for us. Today I'm going to talk to you about how we possibly get there. Or today I'm going to talk to you about the types of planets that might be out there that we can get to. Okay? That is called a fact. That's a fact hook. All right? The next kind of hook I'm going to talk to you about is a news story. Find a current news story about the topic that you researched and then talk to the audience about that current news story. Have any of you seen in the news recently the news story about the huge beach cleanup in Mumbai? There was a lawyer, his name is Versova. He's a lawyer in Mumbai and he's also an environmentalist. He orchestrated, and sometimes you mess up and that's okay. Try to keep going forward if you mess up like I just did. He orchestrated the biggest beach cleanup in history just to try to help the beach at Mumbai. What he didn't realize was that he was going to help the sea turtles at the beach of Mumbai. There have been a sighting of 80 baby olive ridley turtles on the beach in Mumbai after this cleanup. It's unprecedented. We haven't seen those turtles there in years. Okay, that's a good way to bring a news story in as your hook. The next thing you can do is you can do a quiz or maybe a test or have people try something. One of the ways to do a quiz, you guys know, is to use a Kahoot. A Kahoot is a program where you can actually have people put in a code and you can ask them questions and they can get on their cell phones. So many people nowadays have a cell phone that it would be really easy for you to just make a quick Kahoot and have people get on there and take a quiz about your topic. You can ask them if they know information about their topic, if they have any past experience. So that's just a really quick way you can do that. Another type of hook is to use a quote. You begin with a quote by someone famous that a lot of people would know. Notice how I'm going to use my note card for the hook so that I get the hook correctly, but I'm not going to look at the note card the whole time, all right? Maya Angelou once said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better." In this world, there are so many opportunities for us to do better. And now that we know how to do better, we should definitely be doing better. One of the ways we can do better is we can end racism in this country. We can end school shootings in this country, okay? These are good hooks to bring in for those types of presentations. And the last hook that I'm going to talk to you guys about is setting the scene. In setting the scene, you're getting the people in that mindset, okay? You're making them think about a time that they were there. You can bring in those five senses and make them think about the way something smells or the way something felt emotionally. Have you ever had to go to school picture day and you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror to get your hair ready and you have a giant pimple right on the end of your nose? It's red and pulsing and it's glaring at you from the mirror. It is so traumatic. How can you take school pictures like that? Or you have to go to a dance, or it's your very first date. Imagine people that have to go through their whole lives with their faces covered with these red, horrible blisters, and people bully them and call them names. Imagine that one disastrous day that you had multiplied by 365 days. Today I'm going to talk to you about how acne affects people and what it does to their skin and how it affects them mentally and emotionally as well. So see how I did those hooks and then I transitioned into slightly what I was going to talk about? That's how you want to begin your presentation. You want to thank the audience for coming, introduce yourself, give your hook, draw that audience in, and get them to be part of your presentation. On my next video, I'm going to talk about the actual presentation itself. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Miss Guzman.